This episode of Brown Girl Guilt is sponsored by The Whole Bowl. The Whole Bowl believes in whole foods packed with nutrients without losing the flair for excitement in each meal. They offer meals for people with all sorts of dietary restrictions, like my endless list of restrictions of no gluten, no dairy, no potatoes, no white rice, and basically no fun. But like I said, they make their meals fun, so I always hit up the Whole Bowl. They offer home delivery for meal prep all over the lower mainland, custom macro based meals, and honestly, their food is bomb. I always order takeout from here and even order meal prep, like that one time during my cousin's wedding week, so that I could stay on top of my fitness grind. During the month of February, say my name when you're in store and you'll get 10% off. You can also use the code BrownGirlGuilt20 to get 20% off on all meal prep orders. Check out their website, thewholebowl.ca, and follow them on Instagram at thewholebowl.ca. Hi, friends. It's your girl Harpo. Welcome to this episode of Brown Girl Guilt titled She Talks Too Much. The she in that title is me. And if you're listening to this and you're someone who has been told that you talk too much your entire life, the she in the title of this episode is also you. So I'm recording this episode on the day of the full moon in Leo. So it's this beautiful, powerful, charged up day to embrace our lioness, our lion energy. And it's a day for us to remember that we get to be ourselves. We get to be our fullest expression, our authentic selves. And I mean, we should be that every day. But when the full moon is in Leo, it's a chance for us to do that even more, you know? And so for me, a full moon in Leo, and honestly, just like Leo lioness energy in general, is basically just a chance for me to remember just who the hell I actually am, you know? So if you're someone who follows natal chart astrology, you'll understand what I mean when I say that I'm a rising Leo. And if you're not someone who follows natal chart astrology, what that basically means is that when people meet me for the first time, they think I'm a Leo. They think that, oh, look, Harpo, she's so bright and cheery. She's so sociable. She's just so bold and powerful in her expression of herself. She must be a Leo. And so our rising sign is usually the mask that we wear for the world, right? It's what we show to people when they first meet us, or it's that version of us that we show up as in all these spaces. So my rising sign is a Leo, and that's what I come off to people. And that is true. I mean, I am very much Leo energy. I do like to wear a bold red lipstick. I like to wear leopard print, and I will match colors in my outfit and wear funky earrings all the time. So that is absolutely me. But for the longest time, I really resisted that part of me. For the longest time, I carried a lot of shame around who I was, how expressive I was, how much space I took up, and all the different parts of my personality that just screamed boldness and authenticity. I carried a lot of shame around all of that. And to think that that's who I actually am, but I kept trying to stifle is actually really sad. And, later on in my life, I'm 25 now, so sort of like edging into 25, I really started to embrace that part of myself. I really started to block out everybody that told me that I was too much and really block out the shame that I was experiencing. Actually, that's wrong. I shouldn't say block out. I should say that I started to really work on the shame that I was experiencing to tell myself, like, honey, you shouldn't be resisting who you truly are, right? Like, you are at your core a very expressive person. You're not necessarily a loud person, but you're someone who likes to talk. You're someone who likes to listen. You're someone who likes to have conversations with people, and you like to be friends with everybody. And so on this full moon in Leo, I'm sitting here and I'm thinking to myself, I'm so proud of you, Harpo. I'm so proud that you have slowly started to accept who you are and embrace who you are. Because if I didn't start embracing who I was, if I didn't start to allow myself to fully come into this person that I am, I wouldn't be a podcast host. I wouldn't have started the Brown Girl Guild podcast. I wouldn't be as vulnerable as I am and also as silly as I am on my Instagram page. I wouldn't feel confident going up to people in coffee shops and saying, hey, I know who you are. I just wanted to introduce myself. And I wouldn't feel comfortable and I wouldn't feel confident going up to the bartender at Cactus Club and telling him my name and giving him my phone number and being like, I think you're cute. You know, if I didn't start to let go of the shame, work on the shame, and start to fully embrace who I am, I would have never become this version of myself. Now, in light of all of that, I want to go back to the version of myself who did hold a lot of shame around that part of herself. The part of me that really resisted and resented the person that I truly am and the person that I truly wanted to be. And it reminds me of this, I guess you could say like speech or, like something. I don't know what the word is, but essentially in 2019, I was selected as a speaker for SheTalks. So SheTalks was this event that was hosted in Surrey annually pre-COVID. And it was hosted by lovely women in our community, one of whom is my mentor, Barinder Rasodi, and a professor who I had at SFU when I was doing my undergrad there, Jen Marchbank, and a bunch of other incredible women. They used to come together and they used to host something called SheTalks. And I was selected as a speaker for SheTalk. And essentially, it was like a TED Talk for women in Surrey. And you could talk about anything, right? Like your talk was about anything under the sun that you wanted to share about yourself as, you know, a woman who was selected for this. And oddly enough, I chose to speak about how I talk too much and how I've been told my entire life that I talk too much and how I've really internalized it and created this shame around it. And so I thought, if I'm going to talk about how I've been able to really embrace who I am in this expression of myself, it's only right that I share this talk with you. I share this speech with you and honestly share it back with myself too, because since 2019, a lot has changed for me in my relationship with my voice. And I don't mean like my physical voice. I mean my voice, that metaphorical thing that is, deep within me, like the way that I carry myself through the world and the opinions that I have. So I want to share my speech with you all. I want to read it out to you all, and then I want to kind of talk about that speech towards the end of the episode. So I'm going to start it now, okay? It's so cute. It's so great. I searched my laptop for it and I found it, and I'm going to share it with you all. So here goes. I want to start off with a poem by Ari Eastman. It goes, everyone wants a strong woman until she actually stands up, flexes her muscles, projects her voice. Suddenly, she is too much. She has forgotten her place. You love these women as ideas, fantasies, but not as breathing, living humans, threatening to be even better than you could ever be. Our Eastman girl? Same. During parent teacher conferences, the feedback my parents got on their star child was always great. Harpreet is a great student, great at language arts and social studies, a little bad at math, but that's okay. She's working hard at it. She gets along with everyone, has strong leadership qualities, and is such a pleasure to have in class. But she's a little chatty. She's very social and talkative. She should work on not talking too much. So, I was a great student who got good grades, helped around the classroom, and was a strong leader. But I was a great student who helped around the classroom and got good grades, whose seat was always being shuffled around the classroom, a penalization for talking too much. All my life, it's felt like this piece of feedback has been on a loop. I feel my body tense and my chest tighten when I hear the phrases, ugh, Harpreet, you talk so much. You're so annoying. Or, I don't have the energy to put up with Harpreet and how much she talks today. The most criticism against me, however, has come from me, despite how much everybody else has told me that I talk too much. The idea of talking too much has become a constant insecurity for me. I've internalized the feedback about how I talk too much so much to the extent that I constantly have mini pep talks with myself. I stand in front of the mirror before social situations, avoiding my own gaze and feeling ashamed of my personality. And I always say, okay, we're not going to talk too much today. Stay cool, stay quiet. Don't be annoying. Do you promise not to embarrass yourself today? My mind goes into overdrive in those moments of vulnerability. But when you have people tell you for years how annoying you are, it's extremely difficult not to internalize it. The idea that girls and women shouldn't talk too much comes from the not so simple fact that our society is full of sexism and misogyny. Women have always been told not to take up too much space, whether that is physically, emotionally, or through their actions. I think about how I sit on a SkyTrain seat, keeping my arms, legs, backpack, hair, all my clothing incredibly close to the middle of my body, while the men around me sit with their legs wide open, slouching into their seat, and partly into mine, to be honest. I think about how this world isn't meant for me, how the public is not made for me, how I call a friend or my mom anytime I walk alone on the street at night to ensure that there's a witness if I get assaulted. I think about how I police mundane things about myself, like how I'm dressed every day to ensure that I'm not a disruption to the public space that isn't meant for me. Sylvia Plath wrote, "Being born a woman is an awful tragedy." Yes, my consuming desire to mingle with road crews, sailors and soldiers, barroom regulars, to be a part of a scene, anonymous, listening, recording, all is spoiled by the fact that I am a girl, a female always in danger of assault and battery. My consuming interest in men and their lives is often misconstrued as a desire to seduce them or as an invitation to intimacy. Yet, God, I want to talk to everybody I can as deeply as I can. I want to be able to sleep in an open field, to travel west, to walk freely at night. I think about how the world is not a safe space for my voice, how the roar and rumble of my voice in classrooms is a distraction. I think about how the high pitched chatter of my voice when I'm out with my friends is seen as easy or inviting. I think about how my voice, not what comes out of my larynx, but my voice is too bold, too disruptive, too loud. I think about how my social media pages are intimidating and how the first time I meet people, they've already decided that I'm too aggressive. I think about how I am intimidating. I once had a man roll his eyes at me saying, "You must be really good at public speaking, eh?" I mean, am I? Am I? I think about how I'm often told that I'm too outspoken and that being a feminist is a turnoff. How the large Venus symbol tattooed into my left arm is too much of a giveaway that I care too much about the world. I think about all the times people approach me about feminism first, ask me about my opinions first, ask me what I think about X, Y, and Z first, and then get mad at me for always talking about women's issues. A few years ago, I started my undergrad at Simon Fraser University. I started as a sociology major, but very quickly discovered an incredible, beautiful new galaxy. In this galaxy were Stephanie Meyer's Twilight as a required textbook, TAs named Amy who told me that I mattered, professors with blue hair, aka Jen Marchbank, and constant F bombs. Feminism, not the other F bomb you're thinking of. This galaxy was none other than the Gender, Sexuality, and Women's Studies Department, also known as GSWS. GSWS changed my life for the better. It gave me a language to speak through and a toolbox to construct my identity with. It gave me a hammer to break the rigid mold in which I had long confined myself in. It gave me a screwdriver to tighten my beliefs, and it gave me a set of pliers to take out all the problematic stuff out of my life. It acted as my glasses, the lens through which I started to view the world. Most importantly, it strengthened the voice I'd been stifling for so long. A couple years ago, my dear friend Heather facilitated Art Thrive, an arts based workshop for survivors of trauma out of the Women's Center at SFU. One of the workshops was to create redacted poems, where you take pages from old books and choose words within the page to construct a poem. You choose the words without thinking too much, picking sentences or words that resonate with you. My poem was a string of the following words: expulsion, sufferance, eviction. I subconsciously wrote a poem about my feelings about my voice. I had my brother take and send a picture of the poem to me, and it wasn't until I saw it now, an entire year later, that I noticed something. There was also the phrase raised for determination at the end of the poem that my mind has just forgotten. I realized my redacted poem had actually represented a kind of crossroads. While it represented how I'd been long feeling during years of a stifled voice, it was also a pivotal turning point for something brand new. After I created that poem, I stopped expelling my voice and living in sufferance and realized I was raised for determination. I wanted to say that I'm no longer the young, naive girl I once was, but truth be told, I was never naive. I knew at a young age that my voice was powerful and political, and I knew that that's why it was being shushed. It wasn't me that was naive. It was the world around me telling me that my voice was too dangerous, too powerful. I want to end with a poem I wrote a couple years ago. It goes, I strayed so far out of the box that I forgot I was merely given permission to climb out. Now, you want me to climb back into the box, but the box is nowhere to be found. Why would you let me out only to box me back in? The truth is, there will always be a box that the world tries to shove you into because in a box, you can be contained and preserved. But I'll say to you all what I said to myself in March of 2018 as I stared at the words, You've been accepted, in an email from McGill University, one of Canada's most prestigious institutions. Pick up the box, flatten it, stomp on it a couple times, and put it into the recycling bin. You weren't made to be boxed in. You were made to explode louder and brighter than all the dynamite in the world. So that was my She Talks poems, She Talks speech, She Talks public proclamation that this is my voice and I'm embracing it. And now that I'm reading it as a 25-year-old, I mean, how many years has it been? 2019, 2020, 2021, 2022. I had to do the math on my fingers. So it's been 3 years since I last, read this entire speech. 3 years since I shared this speech with the world. And at that time, I never thought that I would be sitting here, you know, in front of my laptop, in front of a microphone, hosting a podcast episode that has connected with so many people across the world. And to think that if I had really allowed myself to listen to all the people around me that were like, Harpo, you talk too much. Harpo, you're so annoying. If I had let them rule my decisions, if I had let them decide what I was going to do and not going to do in my life, I would have been so upset. I would have had this like bottled up, pent up energy inside of me that I wouldn't even know where it was coming from and what to do with it. And the part about like looking at myself in the mirror and having a pep talk with myself, I want to hold that version of myself and say sorry to her because I used to be so mean to myself. I used to look at myself in the mirror before I went out. And then I would look at myself in the mirror like after I came back. And I would just be so hard on myself. I would be constantly in my head and I was never present in any of my interactions because I was always really like carefully looking at myself from another perspective to be like, how much are we talking? Are we talking too much? Are we taking up too much space? But now I'm looking at that version of myself and I'm thinking, honey, baby, we never needed to do that. You were never annoying. Yes, you can do annoying things. I mean, people can be annoying in their habits, but you inherently, like as an actual person at your core, at a fundamental level, are not annoying. And how much you speak is not annoying. And how much you speak, how you speak, what you speak about, and the manner in which you speak about. This is still me talking to me, but if you want to be if you want to take this as me talking to you, that's cool too. But all of those things are inherently tied to your purpose, right? They're tied to who you are, and your voice matters, your expression matters, how much space you take up matters. All of it matters. Anyway, I'm so proud of myself. I'm so happy that I was able to fully embrace my voice. And if you're listening to this episode and you've made it this far, I want to say to you too that whether you're a quieter person, whether you're a louder person, whatever your expression is, right? Like my expression is my voice. It always has been. That's why I'm good at communication. That's why I'm good at listening. I'm good at speaking. I'm good at having conversation. I'm good at hosting a podcast because that is my expression, right? That is how I show up in the world. And it always has been since day one, since I was a kid. But whatever your expression is, have a conversation with yourself. Sit down, ask yourself, what is my expression? How have I allowed other people to express myself in that expression or not express myself in that expression? How have I allowed other people to define how I relate to my expression, right? And ask yourself also like how you want to change that, how you want to change how you express yourself and how you move forward in the world with that expression, without that expression. What are you gaining when you start to really express yourself in the way that you're meant to? What are you losing when you're not allowing yourself to be your full authentic self? Whether that's dancing, whether that's lifting, whether that's starting that business, whether it's, being a teacher, whether it's having that powerful conversation with that person in your life that you've wanted to have forever. What is it that you're missing? What is it that you're gaining when you are or not expressing yourself? I know that if I hadn't fully expressed myself, what I would have lost is this space right here, this conversation right here. And I'm sure you can hear the energy in my voice, but I would have lost that. And I don't know what I would have done if I hadn't ever experienced this in my full expression. So there you have it, folks. There you have it.